Hey y'all, it is me again. I am here with a story about a 31-year-old man who was convicted of killing his dad after his weekly allowance was cut. So you guys stay tuned for this, and please like, share, subscribe, and comment below. A Princeton graduate, shown here, killed his father after saying his father cut his allowance because apparently getting a job and earning your own money, even with an Ivy League degree, is too much to ask. Now, Thomas Gilbert Sr. was fatally shot on January 4, 2015. The younger Gilbert showed up unannounced and angry that he lost his weekly allowance of $1,000. According to the prosecutors, he spent the money on travel, membership to elite sporting clubs, and other personal expenses, but was not able to hold down a steady job. His parents, who also covered his basic needs, had been encouraging him to become more self-efficient. So they went ahead and reduced his monthly allowance.
The wealthy hedge fund owner, a father, and his privileged son. Tonight, that son, a Princeton grad, seen here leaving this precinct, now charged with murder, and investigators now revealing what was found in the son's apartment. ABC's Lindsay Davis again tonight.
30-year-old Thomas Gilbert Jr. is currently being held without bail after police say he shot his 70-year-old father, Thomas Gilbert Sr., in the head Sunday afternoon inside this Manhattan apartment.
I'm still in shock.
Anna Rothschild says she recently dated Gilbert Jr.
How did he describe his relationship with his father? His father was never happy with anything he did, for nothing was ever good enough.
Authorities say Gilbert Jr. was in debt and unemployed, and his mother told police he had a history of mental illness. According to detectives, his investor father recently discussed no longer paying his son's rent and planned to cut his weekly allowance by $100, reducing it to $300. Police have also charged him with 21 counts of criminal possession of forgery devices because inside Gilbert Jr.'s Manhattan apartment, they say they found 21 blank credit cards and a skimming device used to capture credit card information. In addition to an arrest for drug charges, Gilbert Jr. was arrested this past September for violating an order of protection filed by a former friend. He pled not guilty. 3 days earlier, that friend's family home in the Hamptons on Long Island, New York, was engulfed in flames. Investigators believe it was arson, and Gilbert Jr. is said to be the prime suspect. Lindsay Davis, ABC News, New York.
Although this crime had happened in 2015, January 4th, it is of concern. So let's say, who is Thomas Gilbert Jr. and what happened after he killed his father? So I guess recently they must have had the court case, but there's been some criticism as to how he's referred, and rightfully so. Let's say BuzzFeed reports that there's been some criticism, and rightfully so, about Thomas Gilbert Jr. He's referred to. The outlet report that the focus is on his Princeton degree rather than the fact that he was a little more than a spoiled adult who couldn't hold down a job. Thomas Gilbert Jr.'s mother tried to argue that he was mentally ill, as if the basis of his story wasn't offensive enough. Now, CNN reports that Thomas Gilbert Jr.'s mother pleaded with the court to give some leniency for her son. The outlet reported that Shelley Gilbert told the court that her son was mentally ill, forgetting the fact that the vast majority of mentally ill people aren't violently, or they don't behave violently, and certainly are not patricidal. Okay? They're not patricidal. So this is just another problem. This is the cause of the problem now. You're getting him out of everything instead of enforcing the punishment that he Well, the judge gave him 30 years to life. Now, this is what he did. He staged the murder to look like a suicide. According to People magazines, Thomas Gibbert Jr. shot his father in the head, then staged the crime scene to look like a suicide. Not that it matters at this point, but the very fact that he could do that he could mess with the crime scene so that he could get away with the killing, proves that he did indeed had the presence of mind to know the difference between right and wrong. And of course, you can tell that there was no accountability throughout his life, so this is what we end up with, someone losing their life. Now, the other thing, that he is 31 years old. It was 31 years old and still getting an allowance from mommy and daddy. He receives a weekly of $1,000 allowance from his parents. Oh my goodness, if he get a job, he probably can earn that on his own. But of course, that is the problem. He didn't want to work. Now, the defendant spent most of his money on travel and other personal expenses. That allowance has been cut prior to the killing. Gibbert Sr. reduced his son's allowance to $300 hours before the shooting. Prosecutors said, according to the CNN report. Gibbert Sr. was found and manager of the New York-based Wayne Scott Capital Partners Fund. And of course, it's this person from Oxygen reports that Jake Gyllenhaal has signed on to the executive produce a film called Gilded Rage, which is all about the murder of Thomas Gibbert Sr. That seems like a great idea. He gets to kill his parents and then kill his father and get revenue from it. But the interesting thing is that he can't spend it in jail. Now, this young man also was going to receive a healthy amount of money inherited from his father's will. Now, it is said at his sentencing, Mr. Gibbert, clean-shaven and wearing an orange jail uniform, stared ahead without emotions as Justice Jackson sentenced him to life. I guess that's the moment that he is thinking about what he has done. I don't know whether to feel sorry for either one of them. You can pretty much have a conclusion or deduct from what stem or giving this person the reason to kill his father over more money. This is a sad story all around. Nobody really wins. A family is missing a father and a brother and a son. So I don't know what lesson we can learn from this. I don't know what we can gain from this at any cost. But like I said, that we can pretty much deduce the nurturing in this case, the entitlement in this case. I'm sure his father spent thousands of dollars sending him to Princeton if he didn't earn a scholarship, and just giving him the best over time. And then this young man, and you can tell by his action, he actually set on fire one of his friends' home. So that's just the attitude of a narcissist or a person. And also, this man here is 31 years old. 31 years old. He's not 12, he's not 4, and he's not 2. And it is just disheartening to see someone that grown who has had opportunities that was afforded to him by his parents. And this is what he turns out to be. Not even a Princeton graduate, but now you are a murderer. You're a murderer. And if you had some issues with the way your upbringing was, whether your father or mother was kind to you or treated you fairly, or they put pressure on you or not, that is not an excuse. If you do not like the way your family or your parents are treating you, do not take their money. Do not take their money. It would have been more honorable if you would have just got a job, work on your own, and live within your means. Just simply live within your means. And if that wasn't acceptable by any of your people in your circle or around you, so be it. But the biggest concept or the biggest thing about it, you went from being distressed to now you're 31 years old and you're going to spend the rest of your life in jail. Make it make sense. And I'm also wondering, are you going to wake up in the middle of the night and realize what you have done is wrong? Not only you taking a life, someone else's life, you're taking the person's life who is partially responsible for you being here. And to the mother, yes, mental illness is real, but I think part of his illness is you. Part of his illness is the way you nurtured him, and this is what your results are. And it's easy for me not to blame the parents, because once a child or a person turns 31 years old, they're pretty much on their own and they are able to make their own decision. But after the fact, pleading for leniency, I bet this is the child that violated things at school in the neighborhood, and you went and took care of and paid for it for them, and this is what you have now. So y'all, I don't know what to say. I get it. These are your babies and you want to give them the world, and you want them to grow up having all the opportunities that you had or didn't have. But at the same time, there should be some balance. And if not, sometimes it's not others that are hurting. It could very well be you. So I'm not giving you parenting advice. I'm just saying. Okay, guys, comment, like, share, and subscribe. And tell me what you think about this story.